Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And with us today is special guest joining the show. David's with us today.
Hello.
Hello, Dave.
Hi. Kind of creeped out.
Yeah, well,
Zach is actually a sophisticated robot.
not that sophisticated.
It's the
Glorified calculator.
the Discovery or whatever it is. It was long.
Yes.
Shaped like a boner. It's 2001:
with-
Space Odyssey.
Jeff
Come on.
with the important details.
Anyway, before we get too sidetracked to start off this show here.
Never.
David, you're new to the show here. How about you fill everybody in a little bit on your gaming history,
Okay.
who you are as a gamer, your lens that you're viewing games through. So
Okay.
how did you get into board gaming?
Started, I don't know, 20 some odd years ago. We kind of, as a group, we were all living together in one house and decided to do a game night. And it started off with the typicals. They're the old, Sorries and the Monopolies. And then we had actually a cool friend that brought in some cool things. And actually the first game real game that I ever played was the Game of Thrones game, which blew my mind.
First edition?
Yeah.
Ah.
And that
how'd learning boats go for you in that game?
all I remember being is lost the whole game.
Yep.
But-
Yeah, sounds about right.
And I think I lost also. But
Everyone does.
yeah,
No one wins.
it's the whole Game of Thrones. Right?
Yep. Yeah.
You win or
We
you
just
die.
all
You
die.
win or you die.
At the game, everybody's dead.
But after that, it just kind of opened my eyes to what this whole awesome hobby is. And
Enthusiast
has
board gaming.
started going from there. So, and then I was able to start making some money after college and started buying games, and it became an addiction.
No
actually,
one
at that
makes
point.
money during college.
We don't use the A
I'm sorry.
word
I'm
here.
sorry. A
Passion.
nice. There it is.
Yep. That passion that you just can't ignore.
That's right.
And
You
it
have to-
drives you in all your decision making.
We've had a listener request us to not use the phrase "scratch the itch" because it reminds him of an addiction.
I like how you were scratching yourself while you're saying that.
I need to open some more shrink wrap.
It fueled the passion of
Fueled
board
my
games.
passions.
Yep.
Did that forever and bought more games that I probably should have. And
As is
then-
tradition.
Yep.
Yes. Back then, not quite a year ago, kind of fell into being able to buy a game store and are doing that now. So
Yeah. So
nice.
you run Time Well Spent games.
I do run Time Well Spent now. Yes.
You said
Website. Denver-based.
Denver-based. Yes.
does fantastic local pickup for those of us fortunate enough to live here in the wonderful city of Denver.
Denver metropolitan area.
Yes.
So he's going to be with us for the whole episode here, talking about what we've been playing, some news, Kickstarter, all the normal stuff, and then we're going to do a nice little interview with him about his company, Time Well Spent Games. So hopefully that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Because
Fingers crossed.
we do awesome things.
We don't know right now, but
No,
it
we
might not
don't.
be good.
It is in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what part
This
of
is
Denver
everything.
is it today? Besides Galentine's Day, obviously.
Yeah, it's still the unpleasurably warm for me in February.
It's like 40.
It's cold.
50.
It was kind of cold this morning.
Yeah.
I had to wear a jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for?
The other day, I
than
had to
a
walk.
jacket.
I had to walk
February.
out with carrying my jacket.
Oh yeah, Friday was the worst.
Yes,
It was-
Friday was the worst.
It was high as 79, but then Saturday was a low of 29. Thanks, Denver.
Should have just stayed in the mountains.
Yeah. Forever.
Yeah. I think it would be best for all of us, Adrian.
Yeah.
Don't come home.
Become a mountain man.
Just up there with your hordes of train games.
I still don't even own a single train game.
It's
out of
coming.
control.
It's
Yeah,
coming.
It is coming.
Yeah. Choo choo.
Motherfucker.
Speaking of train games, we talk about board games on this podcast sometimes. What games has everybody been playing? David, you're our guest. How about you start? What have you played recently?
Got a couple of games of Adrenaline in,
Ooh, nice.
which I kind of enjoy. It's a lot of fun.
Heard really good things about that. I need to try it.
It kind of combines my two favorite things: first-person shooters and Euro games. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
I've heard it being described as it's like an area control game, but like the area is your body.
It is. Yeah,
Your blood.
You want to get shot a little bit, but not too much, and it's interesting. I enjoyed it. So.
That's good.
So does everybody have like their own little board that's their
Yes.
area
Yes.
that everybody else is?
Well, you're all on one map.
Okay.
And then you have your own little, basically it's a health board. And the more you get shot, the more abilities you get. if you die, it's not a big deal. You respawn immediately, and other people get points, but it's a diminishing returns thing where the more you die, the less you're worth to kill. So you get to then, it balances out there where
Okay.
it's cool. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, I've been looking into trying that. Maybe someday.
Somebody should send us a copy.
Greedy motherfucker.
It's been a long time since I've asked for a game on air.
I buy all my games.
Yeah.
So do I.
With money.
I am a cold-blooded consumer, and I will just money goods and services.
Keep supporting that capitalist system.
That's the
Zach.
American way.
Yes.
Anything else?
Nothing that comes to mind.
Cool. You're allowed not to play more than one game.
Okay, good.
yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
I don't.
Yeah. Well,
I've found that I don't have a lot of time for games anymore now that I own a game store. That's kind of sad, but
You know,
Yeah.
we have a lot less time for games now that we have a board game podcast.
that is very true. Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Two nights a week are now taken up by the show that used to be able to be taken up by board games.
That evil
Yep.
irony. Yes.
Yep. And then we have to make time for games that we're reviewing, so we don't have as much time for those
Right.
games we want to play.
I can see that.
Like Terraforming Mars
Yes.
for the
Just
40th
really-
time.
Yeah.
Oh, that I have played a couple of that over what was it, Super Bowl weekend. We played that a couple times.
It's your favorite game ever,
It
right?
is
Good.
up there. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, to come on this show, you have to love Terraforming. Yes. Otherwise, we will tar and feather you.
That wasn't made clear to me, but I'm glad I qualify
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we don't tell people before they come on.
Just because that'd be fun.
Yeah,
Right?
this is gonna be edited out, so people, future guests cannot hear that.
Yeah. Just so you know, we have a hatch. It's like, open the hatch.
That is not an air duct.
I saw a cool fan made. Someone made like 44 extra corporations that are like print and play.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah, I was reading them last night. They were pretty interesting.
Are they on
How
PC?
many of them are super OP?
None seemed crazy.
Was that from Board Game Geek?
Yeah. It was on Board Game.
Yeah, I saw that thread where it's like someone was like, "Oh, here's like 10," and then people were like,
There's
that
a-
one's OP, that one's OP," and then like he was just workshopping all the different
Yeah,
corporations.
there's a document file that has them. There's one
Nice.
that gets like every time you place an ocean, get mega credits. There's one that's like a weapons corporation that you have to like put money on your corporation card, and then if you don't have enough money on there, you battle out that number versus everyone else, and you lose terraform rating because you're
What the
warring against each other.
Jesus.
Wow, it's there's some interesting ones.
That sounds cool.
Some are like a lot are just like use plants as currency,
Right.
use steel and make more. Never get mega credit production, but your steel and titanium can be used to like extra like trade and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, they seemed interesting.
Yeah, never enough Terraforming Mars.
Never enough.
Never enough.
Nice.
Well,
Cool.
I played some games.
What games
Some new
did you
games.
play?
Played Battlestar. Won.
Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica. I won as a human the whole time with Admiral President. Admiral President, alcoholic eye patch guy that I don't remember his name.
Ty.
Ty, yes. Played Shadows over Camelot, hungover on Sunday
Yep.
from Ant's birthday party. Was the traitor. Got to... so have you all played Shadows over Camelot?
yes.
Okay.
But our listeners might not.
Yeah,
Why don't you
I
explain
was
the game?
So you are Knights of the Round, King Arthur, all that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of bad guys and a bunch of bad guy boards. There's like a Grail board and a Lancelot board and an Excalibur board, and then you have pikes and picks or like barbarians attacking you and catapults. And like if any of these fill up, you get fucked. We were doing super well, but I was the traitor, and I didn't want everyone to do super well. There's multiple ways to win the game. One of which is getting like all these white swords on the Knight of the Round table, which I think is like 12 swords or 15 swords. Something
Right.
like that. The bad guy, if they have more than 7 black swords, will win. And so I was trying to say hidden to the end because you can flip over 2 at the very end and be like, haha. But once we got past that part, I was like, flip, and then I could just like take cards and put down catapults.
Right.
And I really stressed them to the point where catapults finally did them in.
Nice.
Overwhelmed the defenses.
Yes. And the traitor won.
Good job.
Yeah, go
Good.
me.
I think I like that one more than Battlestar, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, I won, but you know.
That'll color your opinion.
Yes.
I've only played Battlestar once, and it was like 2 years ago, so I really can't say how I feel about that game.
You can.
I don't know. I mean, well, I feel nothing about that game. I barely remember playing it. I know that it happened.
Isn't Shadows shorter a little bit?
Yeah.
think so,
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Yeah.
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 Much
Battlestar
shorter.
can go a while, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially if you throw in the expansions and stuff.
Right.
We had the Pegasus expansion.
Is that the one where you can just throw someone out the airlock?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why
Nice.
Ant always wants to play with it.
Yep.
We won Battlestar pretty handedly. It was pretty close on Camelot. They just needed the right black cards
Right.
that didn't have catapults, and unfortunately they did not. And then I played Food Chain Magnate, but there's really nothing to say about that.
Nope. Nothing. No interesting
no
things
interesting
happening there.
in that amazingly large game.
That took up. Okay, so we played it at Strange.
Yeah.
It took up
That
the
whole-
entire
Front table.
Front table.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Have you ever played that?
I have not. I can't afford that game, so no.
Don't worry, we have friends in high places.
Yes,
Oh,
we
nice.
do.
That's helpful. Yes.
So they're like, oh, $100? Sure.
Yeah.
Clunk. He bought us pizza one time.
Yeah. So that is a super complicated. Well, it's not actually. It's not that complicated of a game, but like all the decisions you have to, like all the
There's
things
so
you have to
much.
factor in.
Yeah.
After, like, I ended up winning that game, and I was just like, oh god, my head hurts so much.
The one thing
Yeah.
it kills me that you guys have played this game twice now in this group, and I haven't.
I only played
Because
it once.
Food
It was Paul
Chain-
that played it twice.
Yeah, well, Paul owns it. But like Food Chain is like one of my holy grail games. Like I want this bad, and I want to play it bad. But one of the things that really entices me about it is supposedly this is a game that there is like zero margin for error. Like there's
Yes.
there's zero catch up. Like if you screw up and you fall behind, you're too bad.
You have to
So-
make the right decisions about who to hire, when to hire the people that can hire more people.
Yeah.
Whether to market, whether to get waitresses, whether to get food production, whether to get drink convoys or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe a drink Zeppelin. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that exists.
Yes, Zeppelin pilots.
Yeah.
Zeppelin pilots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
so
can go really far and pick up drinks from really distant.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a crazy. Yeah. When we were playing, I watched a video on it, and then Paul's played it before. But
I knew nothing.
Yeah, Jeff knew nothing. So his first turn, his first thing he was going to do was like, I'm going to do this, and both me and Paul were like, you should not do that because you're going to be out of the game from the beginning. Because there's like 3 decent moves to start with. Otherwise, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because so much of the game is getting. So they have these things called milestones, and it's like, oh, the first person that markets pizza or the first person that makes a burger, they get to get special things that are like, because like when you sell a burger, it's $10. If you're the first person to make a burger, you get $15
For the rest of the game.
For the rest of the game. Or if you're the first person to market something, you don't have to pay for marketing ever, and it's forever.
Infinite.
Yeah.
Wow.
Infinite marketing.
And so the fact that if people get behind on those, because technically if Jeff gets it in the same turn that I do, then
both get it.
we both get it.
Yeah.
But if Adrian was one turn behind, that milestone's not available anymore. And so if you can't follow in the right time, you just are just left in the dust.
Wow.
Yeah, so Food Chain Magnate was the 2015 Golden Elephant Award winner. So it was the best heavy game from Heavy Cardboard in 2015. They have a really fantastic episode that goes in depth on that. You should go listen to that because I don't think we are even remotely.
There's no way we can do justice to that game. Just much like Twilight Imperium.
Yeah.
It would take an
levels
entire
of
episode.
detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really heavy game, but it's
Yeah.
it's
It was a lot of
definitely
fun.
worth playing.
And then Mitworks.
Yes.
Quick little opposite, the exact opposite of Food Chain Magnate.
Yeah, it's just a 10 to 15 minute Euro style game. Like the interesting thing for me is that like everybody has a pool. Like there's just a pool of common workers that you use to place on the board or series of cards because the entire thing fits in a mitt can, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, it was a Kickstarter. Zach and I both just got our
Yep.
copies like within this last week.
And then I ordered one while we were playing it at D-Bolt.
Yes. The first time I showed it to Paul, I was just like, hey, would you like some mints? Oh, wait, it's a board game. But yeah, it's just about, you're just trying to get 7 points
Yep.
from buildings that you're.
So you're building like a small little town.
Yeah, pretty
like you
much.
build like civic centers or factories or automation centers and things like that. And some of them are worth points and some aren't. And
Worth upkeep and get
Yeah.
more money.
Yeah.
yep.
But like for me, my main problem with it, the reason why I lose so much in it is I try and like, oh, I'm playing the long sort of game. I'm like, I'm going to build up, but it's a 10 to 15 minute game. So
It's short.
Yeah. People are like, oh, I already got 7. I'm like, oh, but I was like 3 turns away from doing what I wanted to do.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got a solo mode. I haven't had a chance to play it, but I was looking through everything, and one of the cool things about the solo mode is it comes with 4 AI cards that
Yeah.
dictate how the AI in the game plays. So depending on which one of the 4 cards you use, it'll play out a little bit different. How you'll try and beat the game,
Yep.
which is awesome.
Yeah. It's a good game. My only complaint, could use more mints.
Yes.
More currency.
it did seem a little bit low. And there's room in the tin.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Just buy
Another
2
10.
copies and throw all the
It would
bits
just
from
make
one
it
to
more
the other.
expensive. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I would.
It's a $12 game.
Yeah.
It's real cheap.
Super inexpensive. But anything else you played, Zach, besides Mintworks Food Chain that you want to talk about?
I Dark Overlord.
That's a fun game.
It is. Have you ever played that?
I have not.
Okay.
I bought them for you.
Yeah, so I had an older copy, but they were re-releasing it
Yeah.
and a standalone expansion. So I was like, Jeff,
You work
Go get
near
it.
Black and Red.
yeah, you work near there. Go get it. Fetch. But so this one is one person is the Overlord, and then everybody else is his minions. And basically, the Overlord is like, he's like, all right, I told you guys to go, kidnap the princess from the tower, but she's not here. Why? And then you have these series of cards that have like pictures and text on them. And it's basically a storytelling game of you're just trying to push the blame onto somebody else. And you're just like, well, I was going to there, and then you lay down, but there's this insurmountable wall, and then you have these things that are like point the blame that basically pass it to someone else, and you're like, but then Jeff said I should go through this portal, and it just took me somewhere else completely. And then the Overlord will be like, Jeff, why'd you tell him to go through that portal? And it's just all about people yelling at each other. And like you can even interrupt someone and be like, no, you said you were going to do that, but you were actually doing this. And then you have to be like, and then, just try and figure out words. But one thing I find interesting is that it's completely arbitrary for the Overlord how they give points. Because there's only, you get 3 withering looks and you lose. There's only 1 loser in the game.
Okay.
But it's like basically be like, you said something wrong. You mentioned the other Dark Overlord or something. And be like, no. Or like people are just bickering back and forth. It's just a quick little, it's a good like filler game for me.
Yeah.
But I love the hell out of it.
Nice.
One of my favorite little details in that game that it has 0 effect on gameplay, but the Withering Look cards that you get, the first round is like kind of far away and smaller. And
It's
then
just
the
like
second
him
round's
sitting on the throne.
And then the second one's like a little bit closer, and then the third one is like super zoomed in, like this Overlord is just leering down on you as you get closer and closer to losing. But no, it is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I want to try it.
Oh, you hadn't tried it yet?
No.
I thought you were on that game. No, you weren't.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
I'll have to make a point to play it up at Odyssey
Yes.
this next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Definitely. I will be bringing both copies because I still have yet to take out my old copy in my bag.
Well, you technically have 3 copies because there's the red box and the green box.
That's true. I need to
And
combine
then
them
the
at some
old
point.
box.
Yes. We didn't play at the green box because it added new
Things.
to do that were like, I don't like besides just interrupt and pass the blame.
Okay.
It's like some called like back of the line. It's like discarding. I don't know. It's sort of weird. I just wanted to get the green box because it added more cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a game that definitely didn't need new mechanics.
Yes.
Just more cards.
Yeah. But I think one problem with the game is just you have to have the right people for it.
Sure.
Because a lot of storytelling sort of games, you just get some people that are like, I don't know what to do with this, which is fine. They're not for everybody, but it sucks when you have that one person in the game and you're like, you want to pass it to them because you don't want them to feel like they're doing nothing.
And you're
but
trying to get them involved,
Yeah.
and they won't. Yeah.
But then when you do, they're like, and you're just sort of staring and you're like, come on, it's not that hard. You can do it, buddy.
On to.
So I played.
No, we don't need.
And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is how you know that I went to a heavy cardboard meetup. Because they don't want to hear about anything I played.
I worked early. Can I just take a nap for a little while? I'll keep the headset on, but
I'm going to finish setting up my 3DS and then just let us know when you're done, Adrian.
So before I went to the heavy cardboard thing on Saturday, Friday night, Megan and I played Vinhos for the first time.
Oh.
Wow. That's not a game that 2 people sit down, like somebody needs to know that game going into it. We sat down with the rule book and the game and a bottle of wine, and we were finished with a bottle of the wine by the time we started the first turn. And so then we opened another bottle of wine.
Wow. You guys got trashed.
Yeah, we were getting a little silly by the end of the game. Megan lost real hard, and she blamed it on the wine, which I don't blame her.
That's what they all say.
It's really good. I like it better than Gallerist. Like Gallerist was my first VTOL game, and I loved it.
okay.
So you say it's trash now. Good to know.
No, it's still really good. VTOL is definitely my new favorite designer, 100%. But Vinhos, there's more options than Gallerist. So Gallerist is essentially you have 4 options, and then each of those options you can do one of 2 things. So you have 8 things you can do. In Vinhos, there's, I guess, 9, so it's not really that much more.
Wow.
But they're each their own.
Mind blown.
They're their own space, though. So the kind of cool thing is they have them laid out in the middle of the board as kind of like a grid, little 3x3 grid. And if you want to go to a space where somebody else is, you have to pay them money. If you go to a space where the turn order marker is, you have to pay the bank money. And then if you move more than one space away from where you currently are, you pay the bank of money. So, like, if you want to go from one corner of the grid to the other corner of the grid and somebody's there, you'd have to pay 2 money. And
two whole money.
money is super
tight.
tight in that game.
Very tight.
What is money in this respect?
It's money.
Is it literally just called money?
Oh, they're bagos.
Okay.
Bagos, which Megan looked up, and that's Portuguese for grapes, which means I'm probably pronouncing it completely wrong.
As tradition, yeah.
Yes. But so it has an interesting mechanic, speaking of the money. So cash money is tricky to come by. So like most of the time that you earn money in the game, you have there's a bank section where you move up your bank account and like your investments. And to get money out of the bank, you have to go to the bank space and then withdraw money as cash. So like if you don't have cash to buy a vineyard, like everything you do, you need to have cash on hand for. And it's just kind of a tricky little balance, making sure you have enough cash on hand, but enough money in the bank to get points. And it's tight. I liked it. So that's Vinhos by Vital Lacerda.
Really making me tired here.
Yep. Then at the Heavy Cardboard Game Day with Megan, it was my 3rd time going up there. Really have a lot of fun. They are a great group. Edward's basement is amazing.
I saw the Periscope that
Yes.
Heavy Cardboard did. That they seem very nice.
Yeah.
And their play space seems ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. So I played Tramways up there, which I'll talk a little bit more about during our Kickstarter segment. And then I got to play Lisboa, which is Vital Lacerda's newest game. I enjoyed it. This was one of the first times in a long time where, although I felt after like a turn or two, I understood most of what was going on in the game.
It's very blue.
It's very blue.
Yeah, it's super blue. That's very blue.
I like it.
42% more.
Okay, you know what? I'll agree with that.
First time in a long time playing a game where, although after a turn or two, I felt like I understood everything that was going on in the game.
Wow.
I was unable to link any of the things. Like, I knew all the different, like, pieces, but getting them to flow together and, like, all right, I need to do this, then do this, then do this in a coherent strategy. It was like,
See, that's how I felt about Vinhos, though. I've played it a few times, and it's just, I don't know. I still don't understand the strategy, I don't think. Like, at least to the point where I can even have a chance at winning. So...
yeah,
that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, and that's and that's where I think I already like both Vinhos and Lisboa more than Gallerist. Not to disparage Gallerist, I do still really love that game. Vinhos was very similar. However, I feel pretty confident if I sat down with Vinhos again. I saw some things towards the end of the game where I was like, I should have done it like this, and it might have worked better. Lisboa, I finished 3rd, and I was sitting there, I was like, I don't really understand what I could have done different. Like, there's a lot going on in that game. Really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to playing it some more. I'm sure I'll probably get to play it again the next time I go up there, which might be this weekend if I don't do Genghis Khan. My ski pass is blacked out, so that means board game weekend.
Horror.
The horror. Yeah, so that's what I played. Vinhos and Lisboa and Tramways. It was a heavy, heavy weekend for me.
Indeed. I mean, nothing can get much heavier than Food Chain Magnate.
Well, no, there are things that can get a lot heavier than that. But I agree with what you're saying.
But there's one thing that is much heavier than all of those games, and that's Blood
Yep.
Bowl.
All right, Jeff. Now, as all the rest of us glass over, here comes the bloody minute, everybody.
So I played the Krugenheim Crushers, which was a necromantic team with my Reichland Renegades, human team. The necromancer team are basically 2 werewolves, 2 Frankensteins, 2 whites.
2 Frankenstein monsters.
You can get ghouls. He didn't have ghouls, and a bunch of zombies. So it's really
it's
just
the scientist.
Is it really?
Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein monster. It's Frankenstein's monster.
I know.
Yes.
I really wish it was the scientist.
I know.
running around.
That's
He got really big and green and angry. He's like the Hulk. They're like Hulks.
okay.
They're very slow and dumb. So he's basically got 6 players that are decent and like a bunch of zombies. And I have a fairly veteran team, so I have a quick rundown of our game. It was a perfect day for Blood Bowl, and apparently a lot of other things, as only 17,000 fans took the seats in the stadium. The Renegades opted to receive the ball, and as the ball sailed through the air, those few fans got a hold of the referee and never gave him back. Those get the ref. They kill the ref, and then the new ref gives each of the other teams a bribe because he's too afraid to give an actual call.
Oh, wow.
As his teammates took positions on the field, Helmut Kruger went for the ball. Morg, not Thorg, my shitty ogre, showed his squeamishness as the coach ordered him to blitz, but he decided to enjoy the sunshine instead. As Kruger went for the ball, it slipped through his hands, and even the probability wizards could not help him. The crush swarmed the ball, and in no time flat, it ended up in the hands, bony fingers of Savage Swenson, caught the bouncing ball in a 6. He had 4 tackle zones in there. Fuck that guy. He did not hold it for long as the Renegades were keen to score and were able to pry it loose and slowly drive up the field for Ziggy Abshus to score on a turn 8 dodge into the end zone against a werewolf breathing down his neck. The Crush received the ball before the half, and Swenson threw a quick pass to Grizzly Gradishar, but the wolf was too far to score.
Grizzly Gradishar.
Second half.
The names are the best part of this game.
Yep. The Crush received after the half and drove up the field quickly, knocking 3 Renegades out of the game and 1 into the stands before managing to score in turn 10. The Crush kicked, hoping to force a quick turnover. However, the Renegades were up to the challenge. In turn 16, the Crush managed to push Shavos the Grievous 11 squares from the end zone, a move 9 werewolf, which is insanely fast. Grizzly Grashadar dodged out of 2 tackle zones, picking up the ball and tossed a strike to Shavos with the help of the probability wizards, a.k.a. a reroll. Shavos ran 9 squares to the end zone, went for it, which he needs a 2+, and tripped as he reached the 10th square, ending the game face first in the turf. The Renegades were badly hurt, mostly by Morgnok Thorg, who boneheaded 7 times, 6 of those on blitz actions. I lost 6 blitzes that game.
Jesus.
You can only do 1 a turn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, hampering the team's defense. The Crush were mostly hurt by the preponderance of guard, although by the second half, 3 of the 6 guard players were watching the game from the comfort of their stretchers. The game ended a 1-1 tie.
So what's that bring your record to? What are the Reichland Renegades record now?
I am this season record is 3-2-2. My overall record is 4-13-4. Got a 28.6% win rate. So that was my game of Blood Bowl this week. Played at Total Escape Games. That's where we did the intro event thing, and that's where we're going to have our tournament on March 11th.
Nice.
Yep. That'll be the Karak Encore Open.
Indeed. The Kill League. It's on Facebook. We got an open group. Feel free to look at it. We're probably going to have about 12 coaches for the tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There'll be some links in the show notes, and yeah, that'll be going on, like you said, March 11th.
March 11th, Saturday.
Cool.
Total Escape Games.
Right on. Well, I think that wraps up pretty well what we've been playing. So let's move on to some news and Kickstarter.
Sounds good.
All right. A lot of news this week. We'll start with some of the lighter stuff. Terra Mystica, Gaia Project. It's Terra Mystica in space.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is it a whole new game?
Yes.
Yep. I have
New
not
board
played
and
Terra
everything.
Mystica. It's super highly rated, and I kind of want to play it, but
I
Yeah.
don't care for Terra Mystica.
It's a fine enough game. I like some of the mechanisms and stuff, but
what about Terra Mystica in space?
yeah, that sounds
Maybe.
better.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Ooh. Have
Not,
you-
not a lot of details.
Have you played Terra Mystica?
I have. Is it the same mechanisms?
It looks
Is
very
it-
different.
Is it?
It
Yeah.
looks different. Like I know it's just still a lot of the upgrading.
I like
aspect.
it because I like Terra Mystica. Not that they're quite the same, but I like Scythe a lot better. Like it's very
Fair?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
that.
I can agree that
worked
it's a
better
lot
for
like
me.
it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
It seems, in my experience, people that like Terra Mystica like Scythe, and vice versa.
See, and yeah.
Usually.
Yeah, I prefer Scythe.
Gotcha.
Over those two, by a lot, but
Yeah, that's cool.
I like Terra Mystica. I mean, if I can find someone to play it with, that's
Yeah.
the issue of.
That's a game I wouldn't want to teach somebody.
There's 2 images out and an announcement, and that's about it. But
Yep.
coming
Okay.
soon.
It says this year at some point, I think, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
All right. What do we got next, Jeff?
Bloodborne's getting an expansion.
Yes.
Which that game needs. It needs
Yeah.
a card expansion. Like, just more stuff. There's like 4 bosses.
Yeah, I know you didn't really like it when we played.
I
Adrian.
did not.
I was not expecting you to.
I
I
wasn't.
even said,
Yep.
Adrian, you're not going to like this. And then as soon as we finished, he's like, Zach, you were right.
Yep. Did not care for it.
But yeah, it looks like my main problem with the game is you just need more. Just more cards.
More options,
bosses.
more
Yeah.
items,
Yes.
more monsters to fight.
Yep.
I don't know if it needs any more mechanics. It just needs a little more variety.
Yeah. Have you played that?
I have not played
Have you played Cutthroat Caverns?
No.
Okay.
I have it, and I've had it for like 2
I
years.
think
but
it
I've yet
plays
to play
similar to that.
Okay.
Where, it's like a semi-co-op.
Okay.
You're all trying to kill things,
But at the end, there's one winner.
yes.
Yeah.
You basically get points for doing damage to a monster, but if the monster dies before you get a chance to attack, you don't get any points.
Right. Okay.
So,
All right.
Caverna is getting a 2-player version, much like whatever Agricola one is.
all creatures big and small, and then Le Havre, the
Inland port.
port.
Inlet
yeah.
port.
Yep.
You should read. You should try and pronounce the German name of the expansion,
Oh,
or the 2-player one.
there's a lot of dots above letters.
Yeah. So
A lot of phlegm.
Yep.
Yeah. Hohle Gegen Hohle.
I think it's supposed to be like cave against cave or something similar to that.
it's
Hole?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have a German listener. At least we get downloads in Germany. So
know
whoever
where
that
you
is should
live.
tell us how to pronounce Hohle Gegen Hohle.
That sounds right.
I think
4
Bob
years
Real
of high
tells
school.
But it's
German.
like I believe it was. Damn, I actually saw the translation the other day when I messaged it to you guys.
Yeah, I
and
thought it was cave against cave. I read somewhere that it was that.
maybe.
I know there aren't any pictures for the game, but basically people going, "Hey, this is going to be a thing," and that's it.
Like most news we talk
Yes.
about, it's like, hey, something exists maybe soon. Probably.
So personally, like
Yes.
yay, it's another Uwe. I like Uwe. However, I have never cared for either all
li-
creatures big and small or inland port. Like if I want to play 2-player Agricola, I'm gonna just play 2-player Agricola. If I want to play 2-player Le Havre, I'm just gonna play 2-player Le Havre.
So are these? I have. You said the other ones. Are they just like easier versions too?
Yes, from everything I've heard, like so all creatures big and small, the farming is gone entirely, from what I understand, and you're basically trying to build up a farm and collect a bunch of animals. I've heard it's nowhere near as punishing as Agricola. It's basically like a light 2-player like couples game if you don't want the cutthroat. But if you take the cutthroat out of Uwe, then
What's the point?
exactly, I mean that seems to be most people's big complaint with Feast for Odin is it's not
Yeah.
punishing like an Uwe game.
Yeah.
Like his older, greater games. Caverna, I could see this working if it's just there's so much to Caverna. If they brought it down a little, like Agricola and Le Havre, there's not a lot there. So simplifying it means basically making it easier, at least in my mind. Whereas Caverna, I could see sizing it down, but still keeping the general Caverna feel. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
The Caverna-ness. Yeah.
More news coming soon.
Yeah, it's also still super new. I could hardly find anything about it that wasn't in German. So
The Board Game Geek listing has a real quick overview of basic stuff. Zach's passion project, Perlock Holmes and Furiarty's Tale are existing.
It exists. It's some cat. It's something about like a cat version of Sherlock Holmes. Some deduction game. It's all I know. They had me at Perlock Holmes.
Zach does love his puns.
Yes.
That's
It's a perfect pun.
I know God damn it. I know absolutely nothing about this game. Do you know anything about it besides the name, Zach?
All I know is it's a social deduction game where a cat is trying to track down another cat. That's all I know.
Furiarty.
Yes.
Right on. So yeah, if you love pun-based board game titles.
Yes. On to the heavier news. Some downer news. Gloomhaven is only going to be able to provide 8% of their pre-orders.
Non-Kickstarter pre-orders.
Non-Kickstarter.
If you Kickstarted it, you're getting it.
Didn't they get like 25,000 pre-orders or
Almost
something?
like Mechs vs. Minions epic amount of printing.
Yeah. And so essentially, like,
If you ordered 100, you're going to get 8.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and so
Skedios.
So this came up on a Board Game Geek thread. Basically, somebody who works for one of the distributors that they're using, they said that the way they do this, like they know how many copies they're getting from the printer, and they've gotten 25,000 pre-orders, and they've gotten whatever 8% of 25,000 is how many copies they're going to get. And so they said there's no preference scale. Like there's not like CSI is big name, so they get a little bit extra. No, they are getting 8% of what was pre-ordered. So each place is getting 8% of what they pre-ordered.
Yep.
So if your tiny little local game store that you pre-ordered at ordered 10 copies, you might get one.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I
Probably
mean,
get one.
that's still better odds than what you're going to get out of some other places.
Yeah.
They get 1 out of 10. They got 10%.
You ordered 1,000? Well, you're getting 80.
Yeah. So
Good luck, Jeff.
Yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
I got in on. I hope they have a line on that. Never.
So-
I'm not going to get fucking Jumpgate for a long time.
Yeah.
I put that on the pre-order.
whoops.
Wow.
Just got right over the $100.
So we had mentioned before when we were talking about upcoming episodes, and Gloomhaven, I believe we'd mentioned was on that list. It might not be on that list anymore.
We'll do stockpile instead.
Yeah, we'll keep bumping that on down the road.
In case you had it on your calendar for March 27th for Gloomhaven, might not happen.
we'll see.
We hate to disappoint you.
Yeah. In more disappointing news of the board game world, Portal Games and First Martians has run into the PayPal pre-order brick wall.
PayPal continues to be a real dick sometimes.
Yeah. So apparently, like the main issue is that when they do pre-orders in PayPal's like term of service thing, it's like you can do pre-orders as long as you deliver within 20 days of whatever of receiving that money.
Yeah.
And so like the same thing happened to Vast or whoever did Vast.
Crystal Caverns.
Yes. Where they're basically just froze all the money until they send it. Now I think they did everything with production. They're just, I think, maybe having a problem with shipping, like the lack of money for shipping, or they should be fine. But
So Ignacy has said he showed up in a couple different Twitter threads and different places on BGG. He said they're fine. They actually kind of thought this might happen.
Yeah.
And so they have enough money to get them through. It's just things are thin for a bit, and it sucks, and PayPal continues to be real shitty.
Yeah.
Even their funds for sales for other games are frozen until they deliver First Martians.
Yeah.
Which sucks. Thankfully, they have enough bank apparently to
Yep.
make it happen.
And I saw like on the first people that they'd done an interview with Ignacy where this kind of first broke. Like there were other game companies that were like, dude, Ignacy, if you need cash, like we don't have a lot, but we'll help however we can.
Yeah.
So that's one of the great things about the board game community. Like people really come through. It seems like in situations like that. Same thing happened with Leader Games who it was for Vast.
That's who it was. Okay.
A bunch of people jumped up to help however they could and got them through that.
It's been a nice thing about the board game industry. No one's really gone crazy yet.
Super dickish.
Yeah, no one's a big dick.
Some people aren't fans of Asmodee buying everything, but
Everything ever. Yeah.
But they haven't turned into a giant dick yet. So
Exactly.
We'll see. It'll happen.
yeah.
In positive news, a whole bunch of details came out for Charterstone.
Yes.
Holy shit. This game, every little piece of news that keeps coming out for it gets me more and more excited.
I'm in that Facebook group, and it's just I unfollowed because it's constant.
Too much.
Yeah.
So are you excited for every legacy game ever, like we are?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of hooked.
Have you done Pandemic Legacy?
I have.
Nice.
Yep. And we have Seafall. We haven't started it yet.
Well,
we barely started
we
it.
we did the
Prologue and the first.
Okay.
like 2 months ago.
Yeah, we need to get it back to the table.
Yeah. Things to do, people to kill.
Yes.
So, some real quick overviews from this latest Charterstone news dump. There is no actual rule book. You just open the box and the game tells you what to do, and so you just kind of build the rule book as you go. So we don't know what that means. Like, is there a blank rule book that you at
Put
first
stickers
there's nothing, and then you start to add stickers? Is it like a deck of cards where it's like the first card is like do this, and then you flip it over, next card is like now do this, now do that. Yeah.
Oh God. Flux Legacy.
Kill me.
That game ends with you throwing it in a dumpster fire.
Sounds about right.
Comes with a noose.
I mean, it's permanent, so yeah, it makes sense.
There you go.
Anyway, Charterstone, It's going to have 75 crates. Those are in exclamation points, so we don't really know what... Or
Quotation?
Quotations, that's what I meant. In quotations. I was doing
Is
quotations.
there like an upside down one and like a right
A
side up?
Spanish crates.
Crates.
So there's going to be 75 crates to unlock, 350 unique cards, and 230 wooden tokens.
Wow.
Engine building elements both within the game and over the course of the campaign. A branching storyline in which short-term decisions impact long-term mechanisms. And time as a resource, impacting the cost to use buildings and player order. So,
Good job reading that list.
yep. In case you couldn't tell, I was reading bullet point by bullet point. That sounds like an awesome amount of game for the MSRP of $70.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And although I wasn't a huge fan of Scythe overall, I cannot deny Stonemeyer's ability to A, do excellent components and artwork, and B, put out solid like games. Like I didn't care for Scythe, but it's still, I could tell it's a good game. I understand why people love it.
Knows how to
Just
make a
wasn't for
rulebook.
me. Yes.
Yes.
Or apparently in this case,
No
rulebook.
rulebook.
Yeah.
So real excited. It's a Q3, Q4-ish release.
Yeah.
They're
Later.
still doing playtesting.
Oh, God, I hope they don't release it during Gen Con.
Oh God.
No.
No.
Don't say that. I want to actually get this.
I know, that's what I mean.
That's it for news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff.
on to a very, very short Kickstarter segment.
I guess the hotness of the Kickstarter is that Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, after 2 relaunches, has now going to relaunch a third time in May.
Well, so that, like, the first one came in and then they had the wrong numbers in there, so they had to cancel it and then re-put it back in real quick. But they had a very tepid reception at the beginning, and they kept kind of trying to course correct.
Here's a $100 miniatures game that people seem to be getting tired of.
Yeah, and so they're like, oh, we'll do standees, because people are like, oh, we wish we had the standees, but then that, not like 100 and something people did that, chose the standee one, and they're like, oh, that's not nearly as much. And they were like floating around, they were still like 200% funded, but you could tell that they were expecting to be like in the 400,000 to 500,000 or something like that.
Blowout.
Yeah, and so they were just like, I'm guessing after a couple of weeks, they're just like, it's just not worth it to do. Everyone's getting mad at us and just
Yeah.
and so they're going to relaunch it May 14th, something like that.
Yeah.
May 4th.
4th, May the 4th be with you.
So their whole plan with the relaunch, they're going to have cheaper prices.
Yep, for the standard core plus and core plus.
Yep. Pre-painted miniatures will be just an add-on, not an actual like thing that
Yeah.
you can back.
Not an actual pledge. Yeah.
And then no standees because apparently the price is going to come down enough to where the price isn't going to be a problem for having miniatures.
Well, I mean, we'll see. Yeah.
I mean, they said their vision for the game was having those miniatures. and
yeah.
That's kind of what they want to do. And if they want to knock the price down to get that vision,
Yeah.
I'm totally for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just a lot of it was, they're known for the tiny epic games, and people are like, "Oh, this seems interesting, but it's way too much." It's, and so I think just the idea of them doing a big game was just foreign to a lot of people, and then the botched beginning that really hurts you.
Yeah, it does.
It's hard to recover from that, and then especially like I said, if you try and course correct, at some point you don't really want to listen to your fans because they're gonna be like, oh, you should do this and this, and you try and do that, and then they're like, yeah, but I don't really want it anymore.
You're never
So
going to make everyone happy.
exactly, yeah.
It sounds like they're going to keep the same release date, March.
Yeah.
Everything is currently still going forward to make the game. Everything's in production. It's just they're going to make the Kickstarter a little later.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, the nice thing is that they, based on their earlier 2 now Kickstarters, they probably have a pretty good idea where things are going to go, so they can start that production,
Yes.
have that already rolling.
I think part of it too was their stretch goals. Like they were too long for them to get minis like added to it. And if anybody knows anything about mini Kickstarters, is you want those minis coming early and often because you want people to be like, oh, I want that, and now I want that.
Right.
Oh, we're this close to getting that extra one. I'll throw a little more money
How
towards
long,
it.
how long did that Black Plague finally take to get all of it to you, Adrian?
Oh, God. Over a year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want that.
No.
Next up, Tramways.
Yes.
Paris and New York.
So, Tramways was a game where my second time going up to the Heavy Cardboard meetup, my first time I played Age of Steam, and I sent a picture, and they're like, oh, it looks like you're playing a prototype.
I was like, oh,
And
that's a
then
nice prototype
the
game.
second time
That's
I went
cool.
and I played Tramways, they're like, oh, you're playing another prototype game. And then I played it again this Saturday, and same thing. It looks like a prototype.
Yeah.
Some new game they must get it like a hot version of.
Whatever. Tramways is awesome. It is 80% Age of Steam and 20% Small City, which I have not played Small City. It's Alban Viard's other game.
So
One of his other games.
So how do you know that it's 20% like it?
Because I trust the people who taught me the game and know Alban Viard's work very well
So
to
you're just being a parrot,
Correct.
Okay. Just reciting them word for word.
100%.
Okay.
Did you not hear me reading bulletin points earlier?
I know. Just want everybody to know, Adrian has no ideas of his own.
Yes.
Just
Never been an original thought in this.
Not a
brain.
real person.
So Tramways is
the strings are small but visible. So
this is the second Kickstarter for Tramways. It's officially Paris and New York maps. However, you can get the base game through this Kickstarter. So $15 gets you Paris and New York if you already have Tramways. For $50, copy of Tramways, the base game, and for $59, Tramways and Paris, New York, which is what I'm going to be backing on this one because after 2 plays of it, I really like it. Megan got to play it this weekend. She likes it. And so the second that Megan expresses anything resembling interest in a game that I enjoy, it gets bought. It's just right away.
So I had this, this small hope that it was just like when you brought her up there, she was just like, I don't like train games at all. That's what I was like. Come on, Megan.
Nope. Failed.
So you said this one, it's supposed to be like a subway map?
So the aesthetic of it, when you look at the map, it's really simple map, really basic grid base, and your player pieces are in your color, and you lay them out, and it's straight and curved tracks that curve 90 degrees, and you build from like I'm drawing a blank on the term for them. You have like undeveloped plots that you control, and they have a specific name in the game that I can't remember, and then there's like 5 different areas. There's industrial, commerce, residential, and
Sounds a lot like SimCity.
another one like that. Well, that's the 20% of Small City, which is supposed to be SimCity in a box.
Aha.
And you can upgrade your unincorporated plots to one of those 4 things. And you ship people are the resource that you move in this game. You ship them to these places. You get money for shipping along your routes and victory points for shipping along your routes. And then depending on where you ship them, you get to do things with them. Like if you send them to a residential, you get a lower stress and get some positive benefits because, hey, their workers going home. If you send them to commerce, they're going to work, your stress goes up.
Does this
Things
game
like
take
that.
7 hours?
No.
Okay.
No, it's this is not an 18xx game.
Okay.
This isn't far from. 2.5, 3 hours is a long game of Tramways, like a 4 or 5 player long
Gotcha.
game of Tramways. But anyway, back to what you were saying, Zach. The aesthetic is the idea is that when you're done with the board, it's supposed to vaguely look like a subway map.
Okay. So when I messaged you earlier, I was just like I just saw a picture on your Twitter. There was just Tramways, and I was like, every time I see a tram game, it just makes me hate them more. Or a train game with no art.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, it's supposed to be like a subway system. And then I was just about to reply, well, that makes it a little bit better. But then he showed me the picture again, and so I was like, well, it makes it better, but you show me the picture, so now I hate it a little bit more again.
Yeah. So that's Tramways Paris / New York. I really like Tramways. It's one of my new favorite games.
New faves.
And I can't wait to get a copy of it and then force everybody else to play it.
Like I said, I'll play any game once, but I'll just.
Yep.
We all had to play Oregon Trail, the card game, at least once.
We did.
Some of us got it for Christmas
Yeah.
after hating it.
Oh, God. I think every time I've played it, I've been Gwennifer, the 14-year-old girl in that game.
Oh boy.
We're in full swing.
Yep.
All right. So on to the review.
All right, so moving on to this week's review, we are going to be covering Manhattan Project Energy Empire. This is a 2016 release from designers Tom Jolly and Luke Laurie, published by Minion Games. It plays 1 to 5 players and takes 60 to 120 minutes. Zach, you got a rules rundown for us?
I do. All right, so this worker placement game has you taking the role of a country building its infrastructure and power in the 1960s and 70s. On your turn, you will be placing one of your workers onto the main board in one of 3 different sectors: governmental, industrial, and commerce. Then you can activate any building that you own from the same sector, and you can use workers or energy. You can also decide to generate energy instead, which will have you pull back all of your workers and energy and possibly claim an achievement for extra points. When generating, you will roll any permanent dice that you have collected, as well as any temporary dice by spending oil barrels, and you collect the results. Generating green energy is safe but low yielding, whereas oil, coal, and nuclear can create ample energy, but at the cost of possible pollution or nuclear contamination. Creating pollution reduces the pollution track and places one of those on your home board, covering up victory point spots that need to be cleaned up. Every time a set amount of pollution is taken from the track, a global impact event happens. Early on, these events can help you, but in the second half of the game, they can have some very bad consequences. Once the pollution track has been emptied, everyone takes one more turn, and then the end game scoring begins. You will count up any points from buildings, achievements, your place on the UN track, permanent dice, and free spaces on your home board. Whoever has the most VPs wins.
Right on.
So the first hook of this game, Manhattan Project: Energy Empire.
Yes.
It is a spin-off game of Manhattan Project.
It is not an expansion. That is coming later this year.
Yes. So it is similar, yet very different.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So do we want to start with first thoughts with how much we think Energy Empire is way better than regular Manhattan Project?
Yes, well, that's pretty easy.
Okay.
I disagree. I like
3-0.
Yes. Yeah.
Once again.
He just set you up and you just dunk it right down.
I like Energy Empire way more than Manhattan Project.
Yes, same here.
Why?
I think that Energy Empire has more
It's got more decisions.
and everything I do in that game in Energy Empire seems a lot more impactful to my game than
Globally?
on Manhattan Project, where you're just sort of waiting until someone else pulls his stuff back so you can do the friggin' espionage thing, and or waiting for that building track to just kind of like, I need those things, and waiting on that part. And in Energy Empire, you just have so much more you can do. You have tons of resources, and you can do more with all of the stuff you have, versus I've got scientists, engineers, and schmoes, and I just have to place them in spots that are most efficient because other people have taken all those spots.
Yeah. So one thing I'll go ahead and say is that, for difference between the two, Manhattan Project, the first one, realistically, it's a race because it's the first person to 60 points or 50 points or whatever.
I do like a Manhattan Project. You're building nuclear bombs.
Yes.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Whereas Energy Empire is it feels like the engine building aspect is a lot more important in that game than it is in Manhattan Project.
And that's kind of where I like it better, is that Manhattan Project was the race, and every game we played, it was always almost okay, you're done. Like, wow, I wasn't expecting you to, I don't know, maybe we're doing it wrong, I don't know, but
no.
I always felt like, like you would think you'd be going, okay, I'm doing okay, and boom, no, okay, I'm nowhere close.
Yeah.
And Energy Empire, I was able to, you can see where everyone's going and what they're doing, and you have a little bit better idea of, okay, well, they're doing this, and you can react and plan your turn a little bit better. So,
All right.
that was...
See, so this is actually why I liked Manhattan Project more. There's a lot of other kind of worker placement type games like this that if I wanted to play the Energy Empire side of things, where it's got more of a definite timeline to when the game's going to end and you can have an idea what everybody else is doing, there's other games I think that do it better. But the worker placement that's a race, like there's Manhattan Project.
That's
like
right.
I don't really know any other game. I like it for a lot of the same reasons I like Race for the Galaxy, Roll for the Galaxy. Like those are games, they don't have necessarily a defined endpoint. You can very easily get lost in what you're doing, and all of a sudden somebody else is like, all right, well, game's over. And you're like, oh, well, I guess I wasn't the best at it this time.
Well, I mean, realistically, even if someone ends the game in Race of the Galaxy, you might still end up winning. Whereas if you weren't the one to end it in Manhattan Project, you lost.
Yeah, I feel like 9 times out of 10, the person who ends it in Race, well, maybe not 9 times out of 10.
No.
Almost, yeah, a lot of our games with Race is whoever ends it doesn't win.
Oh.
Like, Again, maybe we're doing it wrong. I don't know.
I don't know, like race, as soon as I feel like I have an advantage, I try and end the game. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in the lead, let me end this now. There's like, I used to try and like, oh, I've got a cool victory point engine, let me just make a bunch of victory points. But then by the time I got that rolling, that's race. We don't need
Gotcha.
to talk about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah.
2 weeks
I
ago.
think that I like the race side of Manhattan Project.
Well, the
where
theme
it
certainly
is.
works with Manhattan.
I think
Project.
the theme is definitely better defined in Manhattan Project versus Energy Empire.
And it's certainly easier to cheat. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
For people that aren't real familiar or just don't want to learn a lot, it is a fairly easy game to teach, and that's its big strong point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the theme fits. They both fit their respective things.
Well,
Because of the building nukes,
Well, sure.
that was a race, you know?
Yeah.
And it felt like the first empire to really get good at building nukes wins. Whereas this one, like, there's a lot of different ways to go about building
Your empire.
your energy.
Your
Stay away from
coal
that.
and
You know, when I was trying to do the rules, I wanted to be like, whoever has the most victory points is the best country, and everybody should bow down to your. I wanted to have something that started with EN, and then like enigmatic energy empire, but like I couldn't figure anything that worked with what I was trying to do, so I was just like, fuck it, I'm too lazy.
Thanks for sharing that, Zach.
Yes.
my man.
Yep.
All right, so components on Energy Empire.
Those little cardboard
Amazing.
pieces are solid.
I remember the first time I saw that in the original Manhattan Project. I was like, I love these. Like, they're cardboard, but they're thick cardboard. The picture works great, I think, and I really like these more than wooden cubes.
Oh,
So,
yeah, for sure.
I will say that I wish they had done the background, the color, instead
Yeah.
of the person, because all the time we kept going, wait, is that a gray or a blue person? And so
Right.
that would be my only complaint.
Back
would
in
be-
the original one.
The original, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Manhattan
No, I
Project
can agree with that,
is
yeah.
But other than that, it's a very minor nitpick that
Yeah.
Yep.
I love the components.
So I like where Energy Empire moved away from the having your distinct worker types of the, what was it, Jeff? The schmoes?
The schmoes, the scientists,
and the engineers.
Yep.
To where now they're all just kind of a variety of people, but they just represent workers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so,
Go
like,
to college.
they're not all the same, like, generic
Yes.
cut and paste person. They're all a little bit different. So that's cool. It's purely aesthetic. It doesn't
is.
affect the game at all, but I like it.
Bunch of unique dice.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Those dice they're nice and hefty. I like them.
Then the board design is super cool. It looks like a desk, sort of.
Yes, they've always been really good.
Dossiers.
They've always been really good on that. I really like how the first Manhattan Project looks.
The
too.
graphic design, kind
Yes.
of layout out of the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The board itself is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it's all the government ones. It's like a green side, and then the center is brown. It's sections it off really well, I think. So, and pretty easy to figure out. I like how the UN track is like those old printer paper things with the lines.
Dot matrix.
Yeah, dot matrix. Yeah.
Printers, yep.
The actual player boards are thin, kind of cardstock.
Yeah.
Like, well, thick cardstock, but
Still not as
they're
bad
not a board.
as Terraforming Mars.
No.
Not as bad.
Mainly because you don't have anything that's
Stack on there a lot.
information that's important on
If
there.
you bump it, it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't ruin the
I
game.
think my pollution was here.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers most of the components.
Solid.
I really like the oil barrels. Those
Yes.
were
Oh, yeah,
I was
the
amazed
actual
how when I picked that
resource.
bag up, I was like, holy cow,
Yeah.
it's
You can curse. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
We're rated
Fucking
explicit
oil
on
barrels.
iTunes.
I'm used
Yeah.
to children.
That's fine.
There's one upstairs, but I don't think she hears us swear.
We'll just scream loud enough.
That's why they've started sending her to bed
Yes.
at 7 o'clock on Monday nights.
They're going to start cursing soon.
No, yeah, but I agree with you. I really like those oil barrels, the plastic.
Well,
I love
the steel pieces look
Yes.
really cool. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
If only they were
components are-
metal.
If that would just
I'll just replace them with the scythe ones.
yeah. There you
There
go.
you
But my favorite thing though, and it just in a tongue-in-cheek way, because you have your steel, you have your plastic, you have your oil, and then you just have science.
Yes.
Every time I show this game to someone, I'm like, all right, I want you to guess what this is, and they'll guess, and I'll just be like, be more vague.
Yeah, they're like atoms, nuclear.
No, I would like 2 science, please.
I will say this: we were playing, and someone, of course, had to bring up the nuclear thing, and I can't not say that now.
Yeah,
we were playing
it's
that stupid
nuclear?
game. Nuclear.
Yeah, nuclear versus
We
nuclear.
have
Yeah.
railed Adrian constantly.
Yes.
I was a machinist mate nuclear class, petty officer 3rd on nuclear submarine USS Tennessee. And I still say nuclear, especially when I've been drinking.
Yeah.
My mouth gets real lazy.
Well, that's the problem because of it. Just how in the pop, in the pop
Popular culture?
Yeah, popular culture. It is. It's like you're about to say the word, and you're like, "Don't say nuclear. Don't say nuclear." And
Okay,
so you're-
nuclear.
Nuclear. Son of a bitch.
I feel like I have, if I want to say it properly, I have to think of it as 2 separate words.
Nuclear.
Nuclear.
Yeah, nuclear.
I feel like it's like the latest Pepsi product.
I remember when teaching this game. Sometimes when it's the nuclear contamination, I'd be like, "And you have this." Contamination, right? Don't fucking. I don't trust myself. But should we go rule book now?
So rules and rule explanation.
SSBN 734.
Yes, correct.
There's a Wikipedia page.
I'm sure there is. I was Gold Crew.
Does it
for
say
anybody
like
who gives
there's
a
just
shit.
one asshole that worked on the shit?
And all hands were lost.
My submarine was one of the ones that didn't run into a coral reef in the Pacific.
Good job. I'm sure
plus.
it's all you, Adrian.
It was. clearly.
SAGPWR nuclear reactor.
Yep.
Those are
I worked
letters.
on it.
Yeah.
I maintained
The wonders of Wikipedia.
I maintained oil and steam systems on that boat that was older than I was.
1988.
Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, so the rule book.
We digress.
Yes.
Often. Yes, rule book.
I have no idea about the rulebook because I was only taught this game and I have never actually looked in the rulebook,
It's
but that
really
has
well
something
laid
to
out.
say.
Yeah,
Well, so
about
that's
this
because
game.
this section isn't just rule book; it's
Yeah.
rules
in general.
and explanation. So, do you feel like it was easy enough to explain to
I
you,
was
Jeff?
explained the game, and I totally got the game without having to look at the rulebook for anything.
Most things like sort of made sense about. Yeah. So
Put
that-
dudes here, and you can put energy underneath them, and that's the game.
Yeah, this is one thing I really like about the Manhattan Project style games is their worker placement is different than most of others. There's no rounds. It's all about timing. It's putting your guys out. You can only put one out at a time on the board, and he stays there until you pull them all back. Right. And so there are times when you're like, oh, I could pull them all back now, but that would leave it open for Adrian, and he has all his workers,
Right.
so I'm going to delay a turn. So when I pull back, it's going to be easier to not let certain people get things. I really like that aspect of it.
Or vice versa. Like, I could place this other guy now and it'd be good for me, but I think that 2 out of the next 3 players are going to pull back. So on my next turn, the board would be wide open. Maybe I should pull back now. And yeah, it makes kind of an interesting dynamic trying to read other players, which is
And I think that actually worked better in the in Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
Because you have to wait, as opposed to Energy Empire, where I was like, well, I'll just put energy underneath it and I can take it anyway. Kind of.
Yes.
That was one thing I did like about the original game better.
Yeah. Well, we'll get through that in the end game, specific sort of things. But
So, Zach, you've taught this game to pretty much everybody that's played it in our group. How
Yes.
did you think the rule book was? Were you able to learn it pretty well?
yes, I think so. It was, it's easy enough. Like at the very least, knowing Manhattan Project, it was like, okay, well, you do instead of having unique workers, it's unique buildings. And
And I did go into this without ever having played Manhattan Project.
yes, no, I know. So it was easy for me to get a handle of, to get a hang of, and then I could just relay. And I felt it's pretty easy. It's like you're trying to get points, you're trying to build up your thing. How do you get it? You do these sort of things. If you buy buildings, then you get them, and whenever you're on certain sectors, you can use those buildings. And I think just letting people know how just how to play, but
The key to any game
Yes.
is letting your opponents know how to play.
exactly. No, I like to play a game, and I'm just like, all right, I want to start because I want to win this thing. So you guys learn by doing.
I'll just keep saying wrong,
Yes.
wrong, wrong.
I would like
Okay,
to
yeah, you can
do
do
that. No.
No, wrong. Rules.
Yes,
They're pretty
rules.
good.
They're pretty good. It's pretty. Yeah, nothing seems too complicated or arbitrary. It seemed
Usually
like,
1 round, 2 rounds, and
Exactly,
you've got
yeah.
the game.
The one thing that I know I had trouble with, now granted, my first play of this game, we'd played some other big, long, heavy game, and it was getting late, and I was like, we can squeeze it in, and I shouldn't have done that, because I was tired and not in the mood to play a game like this.
Did we play Gallerist first or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. We
Yeah.
played Gallerist and then Energy Empire, and I was brain dead from Gallerist. I, for whatever reason, and this is probably just a failing of me rather than rules or rule explanation that I'm sure Zach did excellently.
I'm going to agree with you. It was your failing, yeah.
I didn't get from the initial rule explanation of that first game. Either I missed you saying it or it just didn't click that if you want to activate your own buildings, you can only activate them in the colors that they are. So like
We
if you
broke
want to
that
activate
rule
your
a
own
lot
green rule,
the first time
green
we played.
buildings, you have to play in the green section of the board, the government section.
I think that part of it was just you get like too used to Manhattan Project, the first one.
Yeah, because the first one,
Use
like
anything you want,
you play out there and then you just do your entire spread of
Yeah.
personal buildings.
And that's why I like this one a lot more, where you're not just dumping one guy out on the main board, doing everything you can do, and then your next turn just pulling everyone back. It's multiple turns.
And that is I can understand, because in base Manhattan Project, towards the late game, it does turn into one turn is playing everything you have, and the next turn is pulling everything back.
Yep.
Whereas in this one, there were times when it was like, I really want to activate this industrial building, but I also want to activate this like government building, and having to decide between the two of them. So there are a little bit more complex.
And I
rules,
think
but-
that big difference is being able to use energy for things instead of just plain workers.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's one thing that's nice is that, like, you're producing energy, and the energy basically can be used instead of workers on your own board. So that's the difference, is that this one added energy to be able to play, whereas Manhattan Project was just your workers.
Yeah. So, but now I think we probably are ready to move on to gameplay,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yeah, I liked that workers are a lot more limited. You don't have 12
12.
workers.
Yeah.
You have 4,
6.
maybe 5.
I mean, yeah, you have 6. I won the
You have
game,
up
and
to
I had
6.
2 workers.
I was gonna say I've never had more than the 3 you start with. I think,
Yeah.
or 2 or whatever it is.
I think 4 is the most I've ever had.
I've had 6 before, but that's because I had an achievement that said your workers, the amount of workers you have, -1. And I was like, well, I know what
5
I'm
points.
doing.
Yeah.
But energy really changes the game.
Yes.
Being able
It's
to
the name of the game.
Yeah, almost. It's almost there. Being able to place the energy underneath the workers that you place out to either screw other people for having them spend more
Yes.
energy, and then being able to use energy on your buildings and things like that. They're pretty interchangeable. I mean, it's an energy empire.
Yes.
It's the whole key of the game, and I think that really boosts this game pretty high for me.
So I'm torn. I, on the one hand, appreciate the ability to add extra energy to really block a space, because
Yeah.
I like, as somebody who really likes worker placement, thinky Euros, I like the blocking aspect of a lot of Euros. Like, when I go here, you can't go here anymore. It's one of the things I like about the base game of original Manhattan Project. I like that in this one, they at least give you the option that you don't have to play one if there's nobody there. You can play one guy and 4 energy and make it really expensive for somebody else to come behind you. So they at least keep the option to block, but I personally think that the fact that people can follow you at all is one of the reasons I prefer Manhattan Project to Energy Empire.
Well, and then that one also has I'm just going to use your buildings instead.
Yep.
So you can't use them. And then I'm going to send contractors there, so they only leave when you reset.
Yep.
My wife hates that space.
Yeah. Paul hated that space so much.
Paul hated that game.
Yeah, he did not like
that
the
space. He's like, everything sucks because of espionage.
See, whereas espionage is one of my favorite things about the original game, is that not only can I use my board, but now I can use yours and block you from using yours.
And the flip side is if you have a building that somebody else wants, you can use that into your turn of, well, I don't want anybody else to use this, so I have to use it this turn, even if I don't necessarily want it right.
Or even sometimes I can't get anything from it.
Yeah, well, that's where like I said, that's where timing was super important in that game,
Right.
because if the espionage space is open, you don't want to be like, I'm just going to recall all of my
Right.
workers. You're like, I'm going to delay a little bit so someone else uses that spot, and then I can safely recall.
Right. Anybody else have anything to add for gameplay?
The UN track is interesting. The way that you can look at those global
impacts
impact cards is interesting. Everything about all of those actions are always interesting. There's like the one steal action that you just get a steal for, but that's like the only boring option in that game.
And that's usually like because you need steel.
Yeah.
You need steel for something. And I like one thing I really like is how each of the cards, like the governmental cards, they all sort of do their own thing, and the industrial ones do different things, and the commerce ones do different things. Like commerce is like, if you need money, go to commerce because you're gonna get rich.
If you need to produce goods, you want industrial.
Yep.
And then like government is good for
cleaning
regulatory
up
things
and
like
looking into the
cleaning
global
up
impacts.
and looking ahead what's coming.
I like how the impacts wipe the buildings. Some people don't like
Occasionally,
it at certain points, but it's nice that they refresh.
It's frustrating, but
Yes.
it's appreciated.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's also nice because sometimes you get situations where like all three of the industrial buildings are garbage and nobody's taking them.
Yep.
So it's nice that after a couple terms, hopefully one of those impact cards will wipe that.
And in Manhattan Project, sometimes you can get a bunch of universities out there and everyone else takes them and you don't have any. And then there's nothing but seven plutonium reactors.
Plutonium reactors in a row.
And you have no way to even get scientists except one at a time.
Yep.
And then you feel totally fucked the whole game. That didn't happen recently at all.
No, it did not happen to Jeff at all.
It's almost like there's not an espionage space that lets you use other people's universities to get those scientists that you need.
I'm sure he totally had a chance, and I did not use that all the time. Nope, did not happen at all.
Yep. So building refresh is nice.
Building refresh is nice. So when you recall to generate, if you save a little bit of extra either workers or energy, you get to take these achievements that are worth extra points. I really like those things because
you don't have to dump everything.
You don't have to dump everything.
There's a reason not to.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, I could do this, but if I pull back now, I'll get access to one of those. And I like all three of them. Or like three of them are face up, so you get some choice in the one that you want. And so if there's three that are like, oh, I don't have any, like if it's like, oh, it's a bunch of plastic and then governmental buildings and then UN track, or science, and you're like, oh, I just have all industrial shit. Those are worth nothing to me. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But I really like those, and I like that it sort of guides you to, because you start with one, and so you're like, oh, this one says science stuff, so I should go get some government stuff so I can get science. I had one where I needed to get plastic, but I also needed to go on the UN track, and the way to increase UN track was with plastic, and I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, I tried to get as much plastic as I could so I could still have more plastic than I started with while still going up in the UN track.
Well, and I like that it gave you an extra venue for points.
Yes.
Too, that you don't, if you see you're getting killed somewhere that you can't compete with, you can okay, well, I can just pull back and get that and then start working on that.
Yeah.
So
I always get that fucking steel one.
See, I liked it. Speaking of what you're saying, Zach, for giving you like a direction to go. In the last game we played of it, my starting one was you get 1 point for every nuclear contamination. And so I even tweeted out a picture, which I guess I should have thought about the fact that you guys might have seen my tweet in mid-game and be like, "Oh, I know what Adrian's doing."
Well, I will say, I saw you tweet, and I'm like, I'm not gonna look online because
I tweeted out I did a little picture of the gold tile, which is the nuclear things, and I was like, "Looks like Japan's gonna be building some reactors." But I do appreciate it; gives you that slight direction to go.
Yep. And I like that on the back it clearly says you can only get 5 points from it, and it even says on the card too, max 5.
Which leads to the next thing: they're not an overwhelming amount of points to where that's a viable strategy to win. You can't just you can't just focus on that because you're only going to get a max of 25 points.
And most games we've had end with I had 111. Other time I had 105. Yep. And what's funny is right before the end of the game, everyone's at 30 points. Right. So I'm always telling people you're 10 points behind. Don't think that means you're gonna lose. You probably are, but don't think that.
But that's only because they're playing with you.
Exactly. Yes.
So that we've covered components, rules, gameplay. Pretty much everything.
Pretty much everything. The pollution track is interesting. You can mine for oil. There's 4 oil spaces. There's some
Didn't talk at all about the player boards.
You put dice on them. Mm-hmm. That's where your dice live.
Well, yeah, so they're
points.
Which is another important rule thing. Make sure that people know that each die that they buy Not
worth
the
2.
oil ones is worth 2
Yeah.
points.
Although, like, the board clearly states it. It's just that, like, if they're not looking for it, they're going to miss it because it has, 5 dice spaces, and right next to it has 2 points.
There's a
2
lot of
points.
spinning victory point plates
Yes.
in this game.
Yeah, whereas, like, Manhattan Project, it was just, you got to get bombs.
Right.
Yeah.
Build
Get
a bomb.
bombs, you fucker. This one is, you can go high on the UN track. You can get a lot of achievements.
There's achievements for having contamination.
Exactly. Yeah. Keeping your board clean, getting a lot of buildings. There are a lot.
Because each one of those global impacts will score, like, there's cloud, air, sea, and land.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
And that's where being able to look at that is important. Because I remember one game where you won and I lost is because on my board I was like, I'm going to try and see if I don't keep it as clean, if I sort of focus on other things, if I can still do well. And
that was the same game where I looked at all 6 of the cards, so I always knew what was coming. So I was always like, all right, I need to place a pollution. Well, in 3 more turns, probably, I'm going to score C, so I need to put this in air. Mm-hmm. And I knew the order, too, so I'd be like, if I put it in C, I've got 2 turns. Or, 2 full, impact cards worth of time, which is way more than 2 turns. I've got a while to clear that.
But it's he ended up scoring 20 more points just off of that, and I was like, wow, that hurt.
That's where I've lost every time. Is that I've had those same cards where it was like you get the points for the nuclear radiation, and but you lose points every time that happens. And I think I wasn't paying attention to if you have those, you can then use those more effectively.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you should use those to get more stuff to balance that out, and I wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that the first couple times I played was, I was thinking, okay, it doesn't matter if I have those. Well, not necessarily, because you lose out every round with the global impact things.
Definitely.
So
It's like scoring 3 points versus 5 points every turn.
Exactly.
It's gonna hurt. Yeah.
My wife crushed me the last game we played because she had basically clear every time, and I had all this. I had the
Bunch of
oil
crap in the
well
air,
one,
yeah.
and I had the nuclear one. And I'm like, oh great, I'll be fine at the end of the turn. But she was scoring every turn those, and I wasn't.
Yeah. One thing I also like is I like that the first half of the game, the global impacts are relatively somewhat good things. I love the civil rights. It's like, would you like a free guy? Because they're like, at least you should hire some people of color. Whereas in the final 3 ones, it's like, you have nuclear fallout.
All your pollution turns into contamination.
Yep. And I remember 2 people got to look at that one. It was you 2.
Yep.
You fuckers.
Yeah,
Because you had the contamination one.
Jeff cleared all of his. Meanwhile, I was like, I need nuclear contamination, so I'm going to get a bunch of pollution out here that will all flip to what I need it to be.
Well, and I remember I was sitting there. I'm like, 2 of these people are clear, and I'm like, I'm gonna get rid of a couple of these, and then I was like, flip 3, and I was like, I only have 2. Good.
Yep.
I really like how the first ones help you a little bit, but then those other ones, they can mess you up hardcore.
Yep. Definitely a good ebb and flow to that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything. Final thoughts?
I like the game a lot.
It's a good game.
It is.
It is.
I think this is a prime example of how you make a spin-off game. Mm-hmm. It's a way different enough game to be its own standalone game. Some people may think it's better than the original, even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that.
Some.
Full stop.
They're wrong.
I was expecting more there. Then nope, on to writing notes.
I think that
Someone's got to do it.
at the bare minimum, it feels like they refined this game a lot more. Mm-hmm. That it felt, because sometimes in the first game, or in Manhattan Project, it feel a little clunky, or just like the way felt sort of obtuse, and the things I'm going to do this. Where this one just felt a lot smoother.
I will agree with that. I really like this game. I do prefer Manhattan Project for the reasons that we've covered pretty well so far. I agree exactly what you're saying, Zach. It does feel a little bit more refined. Like they took some of the things that worked well in Manhattan Project and they carried those over, and then they looked at things that maybe for at least some people didn't work as well, and they tweaked them. It has me really excited for the actual legitimate follow-up to Manhattan Project.
Yeah, minutes to midnight.
Yeah. I'm hoping that will be Manhattan Project. Everything I like about Manhattan Project with everything that I like about Energy Empire into a
I can see
awesome
that. Yeah.
game.
I think that, at least for me, if you like more direct interaction, Manhattan Project's the way to go because you can straight up steal people's building, actions. You can bomb them to be like, fuck your engine, just boom, blow it all up. Whereas this one, it felt deeper, but it definitely was less confrontational. You can block if you want, like, because I especially know when there are times where I was like, I don't really want those achievements, and I have 3 leftover energy, so screw that space until I withdraw, until I generate.
Yeah, you have to remember, like, hey, I've got like 1 energy left. Oh yeah, I can just dump it under someone.
Yep.
Just make it a little bit harder for someone else for this one round.
Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, this one felt like a bigger game. There's more things to do.
And I mean, Manhattan Project, you just straight up deny the space.
Yes.
But seems like there's a lot of good spaces, where this one, there's not as many spaces.
Well, it depends on what you have.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
Well,
it seems more like when someone takes the space you want for easy, you can still do it, but you're still like, fuck you. Where the other one, it's like, you took the space, and now I can just do that other one that I want to do.
like the main thing for like Manhattan Project is like your own player board was really important, so you could just buy any amount of buildings that you wanted.
Yeah.
Because that had no limit on the workers.
right.
When you bought buildings, it was just, can you afford it?
Right.
And so it was a lot of times of you're just, I'm just gonna buy this so I can get it for cheap, and then I'm gonna sort of do my own stuff here. Whereas like if I really needed a commerce building and Jeff was on commerce, I'm like, fuck, I don't have enough to buy it and then do everything I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. So there was a little bit more blocking in that, and there's a lot more blocking in that respect in terms of buying buildings.
Right.
A lot more denial in that. Yeah.
What were you about to say, David, earlier?
I don't remember.
Between I think the straight up denying a space in Manhattan Project versus Energy Empire's option of spending more.
Yeah, I don't know if one's better than the other. I think what I really liked about the Manhattan Project was that, like we said, going there, part of the thing is about the timing of the first game I played. I would just pull back, and then they would pull back, and then they would be able to get their space before I could. And that that lesson of crap, I need to hold off and not pull back yet, or do it before he can, or whatever, was I really liked that about Manhattan Project. Energy Empire, the fact that you can just go there anyway, and granted, you can still block, but what we found was by the end of the game, at least by the last third, we had so much energy that it didn't matter. I mean, I was getting every one of my energies almost every time because I had so much energy. I was like, it doesn't matter. I can still go there anyway. And that was a bit of a ding against Energy Empire, but it's a completely different game, I think.
Yeah.
So it balances that out, and I still enjoy both of them a lot. I
remember one of the games we played, like someone spent 5 energy to block a spot, and then another person was just like, fuck you, I need that too much, and they spent 6 energy to get onto it, and you're just like, that stack is so huge.
At that point, you almost have to like start, crisscrossing them to make them into a cube-based stack. Yeah. I'm torn because I like both of them. I definitely prefer Manhattan Project. I'm not torn about that at all. However, the difference between straight blocking in Manhattan Project versus the strategic blocking in Energy Empire, and I dislike that people can follow you. Like that I don't like overall. However, the fact that it adds to your decision of, does somebody want to follow me? Should I stack this up a little bit? Should I try and block it? Like put a little bit more effort into it? I like that little decision headspace there.
I remember one comment that when we were talking about in our Hangouts chat was me, Jeff, and Paul all agreed that Energy Empire was a deeper game, and you said you disagreed about that.
Yes.
Is that...
Yeah, I mean, so for me, granted, it's been a long time since I played Manhattan Project with other human beings, which is
Got a good app.
probably a downside. The app has gotten way better. The
That's
app
good.
was originally garbage.
It was.
Okay.
It's like the Glass Road one.
I still haven't played the Glass Road.
Don't. It's awful.
But like I feel the balance of timing and strategic blocking, like we were talking about earlier, having the espionage action on the main board for Manhattan Project and knowing that somebody can use your stuff. There'd be times where I'd have all of my scientists, all of my engineers, and all of the gray, everybody ones were gone. and yet I would still place a guy on my university that would just so that nobody else could, like, so that Jeff couldn't pull back, and then David, you take it, the espionage, and take that scientist and get all the gray ones. Like that kind of, I feel like there's a little bit more strategic depth.
The pool
to
of the timing.
Manhattan Project.
Yes. The timing of Manhattan Project.
I feel like Energy Empire is a little bit more tactical. It's like this round.
I think that that's one reason why I like it more. I think.
Yeah, Zach's the tactical one. I'm the strategic one.
Yep,
makes sense.
So I did want to just mention one thing. I know Mike asked us just a question about it, and it was just I've only played once, but I ignored the UN track and one with achievements. Did you find all the ways to score points balanced? And I feel yes, because the multiple times that I've played this, there have been times where it was like Adrian won once when he was just clear board, and then a decent amount of buildings. I've won it where I was high on the UN track and I got a lot of achievements. Okay. And it's just, you have to focus on at least two things. I've found. Yeah. Still, like, you can't just be like, if I do this one thing, I'm okay.
Absolutely, yeah. That's good to hear, because every game we've played, whoever went up on the UN track won.
Oh yeah,
and I was starting to feel like that seems, because not only do you get only one person can reach that last space, but you also get the 3-point bonus. It's like, and all our games were tight enough that made a difference.
Oh yeah,
and we felt like I started feeling like that might be a problem, but it's good to hear that.
Yeah, one of the last games I played, I don't think I won, but I came in second, and I was last on the UN track.
That's good.
I was nowhere near the top of it. I went a little bit heavier on. I had almost my entire personal board clear, so I had almost no pollution, and then I had a decent amount of the awards, and the ones I had all were pretty much maxed out. Like I got like 4 or 5 points on all of those. Okay. So yeah, I don't think that any one area is overpowered.
I think it's like the only time I've seen someone lose pretty badly is they're just like they just sort of focused a little on all the things.
Right.
And and you need to do well.
You need to win one thing,
which is the keystone of a good worker placement.
Exactly.
You have to be able to do two things, and you can't let anyone get away with one thing and run away with it.
Exactly.
So because the UN track, if somebody races to the very end and gets the chairman, what's that
leader.
Final spot leader, they're going to get an extra bunch of points, and then if they raced ahead of everyone's 2 or 3 spots back. Yeah, they're going to get an extra 20 points that no one else gets, and that's
you can't really let anybody do that because
So, did he have any other questions? That was his main one.
That was the main one. It was a 2-part, or it was a 2-line thing. So
okay.
That was this is the only question I saw. I didn't see anything otherwise.
Well, it sounds like we all pretty much like Energy Empire, which for me was a turnaround. And this is why I always play games like 3, maybe even 4 times if I can, because after our first play, if we'd reviewed this that night, I would have shit all over this game.
Throw it in the oven.
Doesn't make any sense. I'm just a grumpy Gus and just
Really, I was just burnt out and tired.
Yeah.
And
was it our first play of Gallerist?
No,
it
wasn't my first play.
It was my first play, and that was it. Yeah.
I don't think I was here for that play of Gallerist.
No, you weren't. It was me, Paul, and Adrian.
And then we played Energy Empire.
Yes.
But no, this is yet another one in a decently long list of games that I'm glad that I gave it a second, third look.
Yeah.
So I like it. I prefer Manhattan Project, but that's not to the detriment of this game at all. It's another really good game.
Do you agree that they are two different enough games?
Absolutely. There's room in a collection for both of them.
Okay.
It's 2 totally different groups. I think one is an easy, well, I shouldn't say easy. It's easy to teach, race, done game. The other one's a lot more strategic.
Oh, yeah.
Which it's funny, because although Manhattan Project is the race of them, I feel like it's the longer game.
Yes. Now, we played a 3-player, me, Jeff, and Paul, and we finished in like an hour.
Hour and 20 minutes.
Hour and 20 minutes. But I feel with 4 players it can start to get longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we were all pretty concentrated. I mean, we were drinking 11% beer and stuff at the time, but we were all pretty concentrated on the game.
Oh, yeah.
And pretty
as much as you can with
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
And we were doing a decent amount of I did my main board actions, so you do your main board action.
And you can do my stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the only, like for me at least, the only thing that's different is for that one, because contractors are a finite resource. There are a couple times where I was like, Paul, slow down for a second because
This could not be in there.
yeah, that
maybe.
could not be in there for me to get.
Yeah, we had a couple moments of those too. Of
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right on.
it's a good game.
So final thing, cost and availability. It's available. It's on Amazon for $47.27.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
It's on CSI for $42.99 plus shipping unless you get $100.
And I would definitely say that's worth the price.
Yeah.
That's a good price for it.
Is it on time well spent?
Well, I was just
I
going to
am
ask
sold
Dave,
out,
you're
unfortunately.
sold out? Okay. I was just, that was going to be my next question, Jeff.
It's on all these other things. Wait, am I forgetting something?
There's like some other site. I feel like I should know what it is. Miniature Market. That was it.
Card House.
Right.
Yeah. So it's somewhere. If you want to check it out, you can get.
Probably your friendly local game store probably also has it.
Yes.
Also, yes. So, all right. Well, that wraps up our review of the Manhattan Project.
Yes.
So, Manhattan Project Energy Empire. Go check it out.
MPEE. Yep.
Check it out
Nope.
for your health.
Check it out.
So, emails, we don't actually have any new ones.
Nope.
Nope.
We have a email thread with David about time and scheduling. I could
For
read,
this-
We need to talk about that.
I could just read that off.
Just know that it was successful because he is here.
Yeah, despite
can start reading
what
off-
we thought
Yes.
in last episode, we're like, no, we're talking it up too much. It's not going to happen.
We can start reading off Adrian's address and phone number.
Ooh, nice.
It's impressive because, David, you had a basement flood. And so there for a second, I thought you actually weren't going to show up.
No. We
Basement
got that
floods
taken
are the
care of.
worst.
Yeah.
The Golden Geek Awards are still out there.
Yep.
We're
Yep.
technically part of them.
Yes, we are. Well, in the sense that like you can nominate us because almost every podcast is on there.
If you're on a podcast, you can select our name on there.
We are a choice.
If you're on a podcast that took the time and effort to submit your podcast to BGG and then got approved to be on BGG, then you're on there. It's still a long list.
It would have been funny if we didn't get approved for that, but we did get a press badge for Gen Con.
For Gen Con.
Yes.
BGG wouldn't have us, but Gen Con would.
Yeah.
No. Both of them will.
Yes.
You have to spend Geek Gold to be able to vote or something.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
You do?
Yeah. And if you didn't donate to them.
Donate.
If you're not okay.
Yes. Because I had to spend. So thanks for sending us that Geek Gold.
Yeah, I totally needed that to vote for ourselves. So
I was the one who supported, and then with all of the massive amounts of bonus Geek Gold, I spread it amongst the podcast.
Yep. And then I actually upgraded the avatar a little bit just to be like, hey, I'm part of this.
Jeff, is yours still just your name and
it's
and
still-
an email
yep.
token?
I don't think I've ever posted.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Don't worry. We're not expecting you to.
Busy, damn it.
Yep. Target is a.
Managerial responsibilities.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Still out of joking hazard.
So how about our giveaway?
So we are still running a giveaway. And so that's where I was going to go. And then, as
Yes.
always, we got sidetracked. We didn't get any emails, but holy shit. We've
Like
got a
the-
bunch of posts on our guild. We've
Yes.
gotten a bunch of tweets. We've got some Instagram
Some
comments,
Facebook
some
stuff.
Facebook stuff.
The participation is a lot better than last time.
Yeah.
It's like we have
More listeners.
100 plus listeners.
Yeah,
Something
it's, it's also like we got retweets from Portal Games and
Yes.
stuff of our giveaway things. Like there's been some, like there was one guy who today tweeted to us with the right hashtag and everything, and he's like, "Hey, love your show," and I clicked on his profile, and every tweet of his is just entering giveaways for board games. Like
sure.
he doesn't tweet anything else.
Yeah.
he just
I mean, it's fine,
wants
whatever.
free games. So yeah, I'll take it.
Yep. So we got one more week of it, right?
Yes, so one more week. So you have from recording one more week, not from when we release on Wednesday.
Monday, right?
Yeah, so Monday at noon Mountain
Mountain time.
is the deadline to enter the giveaway for a copy of Imperial Settlers New and Shrink.
Nice.
It's a pretty great game. I really like Imperial Settlers.
How do you enter said contest?
So you enter said contest through multiple different ways, and we're counting each of them as a unique entry.
Yes.
Mostly because I don't want to cross-reference and make sure the same dude didn't post on 4 different things.
If you know us, you know we're lazy folk.
Yes. So
We're lazy
you
folk.
can
Much like the hobbits.
Yes.
also big hairy feet.
That's fair.
So the first way, that was a stall tactic. The first way is to jump over to our board game geek guild.
Successful.
Jump over to our Board Game Geek Guild, guild number 2731, the Mile High Game Guys Guild. Over there, we have a thread up for the Imperial Settlers giveaway. Jump on there and
Feedback.
something.
Feedback us.
There's been some people that have just been like, great podcast,
Yep.
we like you.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're in the contest.
You're a name we haven't seen before. Thanks.
Yes, we might even respond
Yeah.
to you too.
Yeah.
You should also, you don't have to, it's not a requirement for the giveaway, but you should totally actually join the guild. But
We increased it by 3 people at
yes.
least. We went from 8 to 11.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now.
Crush it.
Yeah.
You can email us at Jeff.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com. I
Yep.
love emails because they're useful for us to read
Yes.
on the podcast.
And it's something for Jeff to do other than break ties between Zach and I.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
You can also tweet any of the 3 of us. You can tweet the main podcast page / me at MHGameGuys.
I'm Zach _MHGG.
And I'm Jeff _MHGG.
So tweet any of the 3 of us and use the hashtag MH5280.
Numbers. That's the numbers. Don't write 5280 because you will run out of character. No.
We will not find it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, because I'm going to type in the search hashtag MH number 5, number 2, number 8, number 0, 5280, and what comes up there is who's going to be entered.
Yep.
You can do the same thing on our Instagram / Mile High Game Guys. For that one, we want you to tag us in a picture of a game you would like us to review, and we will look into getting a copy of that and reviewing it.
Yeah.
And then you can jump over to our Facebook, facebook.com / Mile High Game Guys, and just comment on our page. Follow the Facebook page, make a
Review,
comment.
any of that stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
The only thing I want tagged on Instagram is the war for North Africa. The campaign for North Africa.
No.
Okay, somebody do it.
No.
We'll make it happen.
No, we will not make that happen. Because I would like to live my life not playing that game.
30,000 hours, 8 players or
Yes.
something. Yeah.
It's like literally down to each individual person's rations.
Yep. Like,
How much food did you bring to this board game?
no, like all the soldiers.
The
in
soldiers'
war.
rations in the game.
I know.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Longest
Yeah,
game.
so there's a plethora of ways to enter the giveaway to get a copy of Imperial Settlers.
Yep.
We'll help with
and-
shipping or something.
Yes. Oh, yes, because we didn't actually mention that last podcast.
Yep.
So let me make sure to say that. If it's domestic, we will ship it to you. If it's international, we will work with you on the shipping depending on how much it is
Yeah.
to where you are. If you live in Antarctica and we have to pay special for a boat to go there, that's going to
If
be
we can only
difficult.
get in, the 1 week in spring that planes can land where you live, if
yeah.
it's $20, sure, maybe. Like,
So
Yeah.
we'll work with you
Yes.
if it's international.
we will not help get the thing out of Antarctica.
Nope. Thing's going to stay there.
The thing is going to stay.
But all right. Well, David, thank you
Yes.
for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can people get a hold of you if they would like to?
Either our email is info@timewellspentgames.com. Our phone number is 303-973-6327. Or there's a contact page on our site, which is just timewellspentgames.com.
Right.
So,
Sounds good.
You guys are on Twitter, right?
yes, we are at TWS Games.
Yes, you are. I
think.
tweeted you earlier today.
Yeah.
That is 100%.
I'm old. I don't know what Twitter is.
You are correct.
That was a quiz, and you have passed.
Correct.
Yep.
Right.
And we're
on.
also on Facebook at Time Well Spent Games.
Yes.
Nice.
And your motto is one of the best mottos.
Which I wish I
on
could take
online
credit
board
for that,
gaming.
but I can't. It's the previous owner's
Yep.
motto, but
But it is.
it is any time spent playing games is time well spent.
There we go.
Nailed it.
We had to keep it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's,
Darn.
right.
somebody did something good for us.
Yeah.
Right.
But all right, well, we've been the Mile High Game Guys. Next week we will be covering Seven Wonders and Seven Wonders Duel in another one of our duel episodes where we compare a game and its spin-off game. Kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
It's one
Double
of-
up.
We're figuring out how to brand that one.
Yeah.
Or something. But
Comparison off.
comparison off. That's not clunky at all.
No, it is not.
But as always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
I'm Schmo Jeff.
And thanks for joining us, David.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll talk to you guys all later.
Bye.
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 That's like
Nice.
a James Bond ejection seat. Shoots you through the upstairs neighbor's apartment and through the roof.
They didn't really agree to it, but it's going to happen.
We do at least have like a silent alarm system so that we give them a 10-second notice so they clear the hatch.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Yep.